Keep your hands on that plow. Hold on.
The Slave Act of 1807 stopped the capture of people in Africa, Asia, and other parts of the world. This was a monumental moment in history. After 500 years of kidnapping and torture, the trading of slaves across the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean was finally illegal. There are many fictional stories based on this amendment. One of these stories is Lawrence Hill's The Book of Negroes. Aminata Diallo, a character in the novel Free, is a slave, a freed slave, and a survivor. Aminata plays all these roles in the novel, sometimes at the same time. She is the reason why the amendment takes place. Hill clearly shows how slavery imprisons Aminata spiritually, educationally, and physically. Though imprisoned, Aminata asserts her own individuality and her freedom. Aminata quickly loses her faith and her spiritual life when she gets captured at the age of 11. She does, however, assert her own individuality about her spiritual life and her own spiritual freedoms in the way she can. Aminata and her parents followed the Muslim faith. From Bahia to Bant Island to later South Carolina in Applebee's indigo plantation, she's almost like any other Negro slave. What separates her from the other slaves is her faith and how she follows it. When Georgia, her mentor in the plantation, asks, "You smoke?" she responds with, "Believers don't smoke. God say no smoke. Our books say no smoke." The other way she demonstrates being an individual is 40 years later, when she is traveling with slave traders and one of them asks, "You pray to Allah?" "No," I said. I did not want As-Salim to know that I had once been a Muslim because I feared he would judge me and perhaps punish me, having left the faith. In my heart, I didn't feel like I had truly left the spiritual beliefs of my father. I had simply grown accustomed to letting them sit quietly at the back of my soul. These are the times when Aminata asserts her individuality and freedoms the way she lives her life through spirituality. A typical African American slave is not allowed to know how to read or write, thus imprisoned in the mind of the slave. However, Aminata finds opportunities and ways to broaden her intellect, making her stand out from all the other slaves. Offered to learn how to read, Aminata says, "So much has been taken from me that are mine by rights, and I know I am being offered something I might never have received. I am afraid to reach out and take it, but even more afraid to let it go." She, however, accepts the offer and learns how to read. In New York, when she decides she wants to be free from Solomon Lindo, Black Sam says, "You are already free where it matters most. It matters most in your mind." Through education, Aminata yet again shows how she asserts her own individuality and freedoms the way she lives her life. In the 18th century, this physical authority of slaves is imperative to the slave trade. The slaves are imprisoned in their own skin. Aminata, against the odds, finds her own uniqueness in the 18th century within the Negro population. When told by her master, "You will cook and you will do as I say," she said, "I will not." She, at that moment, tried to yank her wrist free, but he held it firmly. With his other hand, he slapped her in the face. Then he let her go. Saying no, she asserts her freedom. When pregnant with her first child, her angry master says, "You don't own that baby any more than you own the wool on your head." By keeping her child, she asserts her freedoms seamlessly. Spiritually, educationally, and physically, even though imprisoned, Aminata asserts her own individuality and her freedoms the way she wants to. Spiritually, educationally, and physically, even though imprisoned, Aminata asserts her own individuality and her freedoms.